I want to tell you about a new show from Radiotopia Presents that we're really excited about. It's called Shocking, Heartbreaking, Transformative. Host Jess Shane puts out an open call on Craigslist for aspiring documentary subjects and selects 4 to work with. Together, they pull back the curtain on what really goes on behind the scenes of your favorite nonfiction shows, showing what it takes and what it costs to collect, edit, and consume stories about people's real lives. Radiotopia presents Shocking, Heartbreaking, Transformative, out now on your preferred podcast platform. Wait For It is a show about the way we feel about our bodies. Consequently, each episode may include references to gaining and losing weight, eating disorders, weight loss surgery, and weight stigma. If these topics are triggering to you, please take care while listening. We have links to support resources for anyone who may need them in our show notes. Wait for it. So I'm sure many of you are processing everything you've heard from the last 6 episodes. And to be honest, I am too. Producing these episodes has been hard work and a lot of emotional labor. But the feedback I've received from all of you has made that hard work really worth it. When we were in the final days before the launch of episode 1, I remember that my main hope was just that people listened and that the show resonated with folks. I'm so happy to say that judging from all of your emails, texts, and DMs, that the show has certainly landed with all of you. And it's hard to articulate how happy that has made me. Today's episode was originally planned to be a mailbag episode where we went through all of your emails and answered questions you may have had about the show. However, we pivoted a bit for 2 reasons. One, because the majority of the emails we received was mostly y'all sharing experiences and talking about how you related to the show, which again, I really loved, but I didn't feel like they made a complete episode. And 2, you mostly had one urgent question that we were planning to answer anyway. Ronald, do you still see that doctor? So today, instead of a mailbag episode, we're going to give you a little peek behind the curtain. It's a conversation with me and editor Sarah Dealy, who's an accomplished audio producer and writer whose work you should seek out if you haven't already. I couldn't have done this show without her. We talk a little bit about developing our working relationship, we'll reveal a couple of our favorite episodes, and we're going to wrap up some loose threads from the season, including that one question many of you keep asking me. We do answer one email, and we look ahead to the future of the show. I'm very excited to share a few updates with you. So, without further ado, I'm Ronald Young Jr., and this is Wait For It. Sarah Dealy.
Hi.
Welcome to Wait For It. Welcome back to Wait For It.
Yeah, this is exciting.
How have you been? How have you been in the last 6 weeks we've been producing the show?
I've been pretty good. And it's been really nice to hear. It's been, when you work on something so long, it's like, will it ever exist? And now it does. I'm sure you feel the same way.
Oh my God, absolutely. I'm so happy it's out. I'm so happy we did every episode that we wanted to do, basically, and they're all out now. And I've been getting a lot of positive feedback. Like, a lot of people have been reaching out and talking about how the show resonates with them. Has anybody been reaching out to you? Have you been getting any type of feedback?
Yeah, totally. I've been getting a lot of really, really great feedback from people. Just like some of my favorites, just sort of about like how much nuance this show carries, which is really important to me because that's something we worked on pretty hard.
Agreed. I think there were episodes where I was very nervous when I got your first round of feedback. I had a vision for an episode and I sent it over to you and I got that first round of feedback and I was like, I am terrible at this.
Oh, no.
But you were so nice. You were so nice. Let me just, you were really nice about it. But I was like, the feedback that I've gotten from people has been very much that it's nuanced, that we hit the mark, that it's resonating with folks. And I attribute a lot of that to your editing. let me ask you, what was your favorite episode of the season to make?
Okay, I think my favorite episode was episode 1. Just because like we worked the hardest on episode 1 together, and I felt like, we were sort of really working on our working relationship, like it was like building. And so it was really enjoyable, really good, challenging work that I loved making it with you. And I felt like I really got to see you come from having this idea and like not really knowing where to go with it, and then having like it fully formed. And I mean, I hope in line with the vision that you sought out.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
It absolutely
Okay.
did.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
yeah, it absolutely did.
Yeah. Like, I kind of thought that episode 4 would be the hardest just because there's so much there, but it wasn't because we had already done a lot of work with episode 1. What was your favorite?
My favorite episode is episode 2, A Shame Spiral. And I think that you gave me 2 notes. The first note you gave me on that one was there's not enough Caitlyn in this. And so I gave you so much more Caitlyn in the next draft. And then you looked at that draft and you were like, bro, there is so much Caitlyn in this one. And then I remember you even said, and I know I said put more Caitlyn in, but this is a lot. It's now changed the entire episode. And so I think when we were figuring out the balance of that one, like going back and forth and figuring out like the shape of what actually like nailed that home and the type of feedback that I got about that, including from Caitlyn herself, I really feel like we were able to nail that one, which felt good.
Yeah, I do think like my biggest note for you a lot was like, there's not enough Ronald, there's not enough Ronalds. In all of them, because I do think like, especially this season, it's a memoir piece. It gets very universal, but there's a lot of Ronald, and it's great.
I appreciate that. One kind of general question we've been getting from people, or we won't even say from general questions. There are some general questions, some of them the same questions we've been getting from folks. So we wanted to kind of give some updates to kind of close out some threads from the season based on the stories that I've told, because a lot of them are about me. But we want to close out some of those threads from the season. So Sarah, why don't you help me close out these threads?
Yeah, of course. Okay, so I feel like people even were asking me this, but did you get a new doctor?
It's funny because people weren't just asking that question. People were running up on me digitally and just saying, dude, you have got to get a new doctor, like really hammering that point home. And it's funny because that was the second visit I had like that with that doctor. And I'd seen that doctor maybe 4 or 5 times over the years that I had been working with them. And at the time of that we produced that episode and released that episode, I already had a new doctor. I've had a new doctor for a few months now. Like that visit happened early in 2023. By the end of that visit, I'd already decided I'm never going back to that guy again. And I have a new doctor. She's brilliant. She is health at every size focused. She's been wonderful. We're working together to lower my blood pressure. She told me to get a blood pressure cuff, which I use at the house to kind of monitor like how I'm feeling, taking it twice a day, just trying to see how I am so we can keep an eye on it, make sure it's going in the right direction. So that was one thing that was helpful because I was sitting in her office and she was like, you should get a blood pressure cuff. And I was like, can you recommend one? And she was like, I'll give it to you as you leave. She gave it to me as I left and I was able to order it in the office before I even got to my car, which was way more helpful than this other doctor who was always like, you got to get a blood pressure monitor. I was like, well, which one should I get? He's like, go on Amazon. And I'm like, what? That's not helpful. Do they have ones that are for bigger arms? Like, what is that like? You know what I mean? So it felt really good to get that all resolved. And this doctor has been great. So yes, I got a new doctor.
So, okay, just a follow up for that is people have also asked me this a lot. How did you find a health at every size doctor?
I asked around. Like I asked other fat people and was like, yo, do you know anything about other doctors or doctors that are health at every size focused that I could be talking to? And what I find is in most cities, and people kept reaching out to try to recommend this, in most cities or in a lot of major cities, I would say there are like health focused groups or plus size groups. Like imagine something like Plush DMV that's here in DC, in the DC area. There's a group that they do this. They basically go out and ask each other about doctors, and then they kind of put together a list. If you can get access to those types of groups in your city, then you probably already have access to those lists. But if you don't, then look up health at every size on social media, on Google, and typically you can get to directories pretty quickly to find a good doctor. I know that's not probably the best advice, or it's not like that crystal clear, but what I can also do is put a link in the show notes that will kind of shorten up some of that work for you. But it's basically, you have to do a little bit of digging, but they are available and they're out there.
Nice. I think that'll be great.
Yeah.
Okay, so on the show we talk a lot about your love life. So how's that going?
It is, whew, I'm alive.
Okay.
I mean, I was seeing someone and that didn't pan out. I really wanted it to, but it didn't. And that was kind of a blow. So right now I would say I'm dating. I am not currently on the apps. I have you probably know about this. You get on the apps and then you get real sad, you get depressed, or you make like a tepid connection with somebody, and then you're just like, I don't want to do this. Like,
the apps are horrible.
You know what I mean?
They're really bad. The apps are like a psychic vortex. I don't know. Just because I don't know. Because either like you get on and you really care about it and you're like, I'm looking to make connections. So you're really like invested in everyone you talk to. Or you just don't care and you're like, oops, I didn't go on. Either way, it's horrible.
Yeah. Yeah. You get on the apps and a couple things. One, I realize that the type of connection I'm looking for, it happens. It happens pretty quickly. Like I understand what's happening pretty quickly. You know what I mean? Whereas on the apps, I feel like you meet people that you match with on paper, and then you start doing a lot of digging to find out that it's not working, or there's no sparks flying in the texts. You know what I mean? There's no chemistry really happening. And when that's not happening, you kind of hang on because you're like, they haven't really done anything wrong, but I'm not really excited about this.
That's so tedious to me.
It absolutely is, Sarah. It absolutely is. And then you start trying to swipe up someone new, and you get tired of the swiping. And then, then my cycle is normally I start watching television, like The Office, or recently it's been Suits. And then I see all these people like falling in love and all that. And I'm just like, ugh, I don't want to. And then after that, I'm just like, yeah, exactly. Meghan Markle. Yes. I watch Meghan Markle.
You're just like, oh, Meghan Markle in this show is really, it's going so well for her.
Yes.
Yeah, that's rough.
But yes, I'm like, I'm still optimistic. Like I'm still optimistic about my love life, but it's like right now it's just the apps ain't it, and
no.
it's not really going right now.
Well, I'm optimistic about your love life. Putting that out.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, of course.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, I also think I was just talking to like my thin friend about the apps a few weeks ago, and I was like, oh, I'm not sure if I like look fat enough in my pictures, and he like thought that was so funny, but I really do think that's important. I'm sure a lot of fat people listening will like you got to look more fat than you are, because you don't want to get into a situation where you're like in person with someone and it's like, oh, you know.
Yeah, I don't ever want anyone. I don't ever want anyone to feel like I fooled them in most meetings, which is why I actually prefer meeting people in real life. Because if you meet me in real life, or I'd rather someone just like slide into my DMs on Instagram, because if you do that, then I'm like, oh, okay, well those are. You're seeing everything on there. You know what I mean? You probably already even listened to the podcast. And wait, and this isn't me soliciting the listeners.
You heard that,
at
listeners.
all.
Ronald is single.
No, what I'm saying, like, it feels much easier than try to like curate like a dating profile for myself that I think people are going to like or dislike. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, my love life is it's fine. We're good for now. I'm optimistic about the future. And I don't know, like maybe, who knows? I might end up single. Like, it is what it is. So I think I just want to try to fill my life with distractions, doing other things. I don't know if this is going to make the show, Sarah.
Sorry. Okay. Well, we have it. Can I add one question that I'm curious about?
Yes, you can.
Okay. So, I mean, earlier you mentioned that, Caitlin had some feedback for you. I'm wondering, making a memoir show, having a lot of friends who you have interviewed for this, some of which the interviews have been really vulnerable, how have the people in your life and the people in the show reacted?
Everyone that has been in the show has reacted well. They all feel like they were represented well, or they enjoyed their episodes. Caitlin and I had a few more discussions afterwards. Caitlin actually reached out and was like, "Hey, I'm sorry if what I said to you was harsh." And I said, "No, you're 100% fine in feeling the way that you feel. Like, you're perfectly okay." Like, and I think me and her like kind of just had, and she really enjoyed the episode. She thought it was well done. And she says, but she even said to me, "Man, I think I might have answered that question differently." And I was like, "How so, if that was your answer?" And she was like, "Well, I guess you're right." And so like we kind of left it at that. But it hasn't, like, really, with everybody else, it has not ruined any relationships. And everyone mostly, I think, and I'm saying mostly to hedge my bet, just in case one of them hears this and like, "I actually hated that." And I couldn't tell you before.
They should speak up now.
Yeah, speak now. Like, tell me before we recording the 7th episode. But no, mostly everybody seems to be okay, and I'm happy about that.
Cool. That's good.
Yeah.
What other updates would you like to tell listeners?
I did get a CPAP, and my sleep has been fantastic as a result.
Wow.
And I've been, yeah. It's a game changer for folks out there that with sleep apnea that have been just like, fighting for their lives, literally. Get a CPAP. It's the way to go.
Wow. Okay.
Absolutely.
Is it super uncomfortable? Like, is it bulky?
You get used to it. I mean, like the one that I have it's meant for people who sleep on their sides. So you kind of get used to sleeping with it. And what you start to notice immediately is, and it takes a couple of days for you to get used to sleeping with it, like, because you have something that like you're practicing breathing with, and you're trying not to like fight the air as it's coming into your nose. And then also used to be a person that slept with my mouth open, and now I sleep with my mouth closed. So I had to get used to that.
Because
but
it closes your mouth. Sorry.
No, well, it doesn't do it on purpose, but basically if you open your mouth, it's like all the air is coming out of your mouth instead of going into your face, which is where you want it to be. So, yeah. But like after like a couple days, it's like the first day I was like, there's no way in the world this is ever going to work. So I slept with it for a couple hours. Second day, a little bit longer. And now, like most recently, I went out of town for a trip for a week, and it was the best sleep I've ever had on the road. Like the best sleep I've ever had. And I sleep with it every night. It's completely fantastic. I love it.
That's incredible.
It's game changer.
I'm so happy for you.
Yeah. Everybody that's on the fence, get out there and get one. Hello, Wait For It listeners. I hope you're enjoying the show. And I want to invite you to check out another Oh It's Big Ron Studios show called Leaving the Theater. Leaving the Theater is a television and film review podcast that started with me reviewing movies as I walked out of the theater immediately after seeing them. It's now expanded to include me reviewing television and streaming titles on my couch as well. These are the freshest take on what we just watched, and it's a lot of fun. On each episode, I talk with my movie-loving friends or colleagues from other podcasts, and we rate whatever we watched from 1 to 5 stars. If you're an overthinker like me, you'll enjoy agreeing and disagreeing with my analysis. Again, that's Leaving the Theater, available everywhere you listen to podcasts. Wait for it. Okay, so technically this is supposed to be a mailbag episode. And that means we would read through letters and people are asking questions and we're answering them kind of behind the scenes. But a lot of people what I found was people were sharing stories. They were just kind of like just sharing stories about weight and kind of pitching ideas. But there is one that I think is important that I'm going to read a little bit of and we're going to talk about. It's from a person named Yelena, and it reads as follows. It says, "Hi, Ron. I know I'm a random person and we're not on a first name basis, but Mr. Young felt weird." Already I'm into this letter. I've been listening to Wait For It, and I wanted to write an email about your coverage of weight loss surgery because it feels incomplete in ways that are maybe a little irresponsible. In the podcast, you talk about weight loss surgery like it's a cure-all, like you get the weight loss surgery and you're just magically fixed and the weight just stays off. You don't talk about any of the downsides, and I think the way you're portraying it almost as an easy solution isn't quite right. Not trying to be accusatory, I really enjoy your podcast overall. The main thing is, weight loss surgery of any kind is major surgery. It's invasive. You're not just getting your tonsils removed, or whatever. And while it's not classified as high risk, it's a lot riskier than most other commonplace surgery. Again, not high risk, but higher risk. You also didn't address the quality of life post-surgery at all. Weight loss surgery involves a liquid diet for a while after. Yes, but even after that, you can only eat tiny portions. Your stomach is a lot smaller, and if you eat too much, you vomit. That actually happens pretty frequently. People also develop a lot of food sensitivities and allergies after weight loss surgery. So the rest of the letter, they kind of go into all the dangers of weight loss surgery and all of that. And I think like part of this that I kind of wanted to push back on was, I think for what we were doing in that episode, we did cover kind of it being a risky or a drastic step for weight loss. And I think what I didn't say in that episode was that I'm not going to get weight loss surgery. And it wasn't really an option for me because the idea of doing surgery to lose weight just have always felt like the wrong idea for me, for Ronald. And I know that like my friends that were on the show, they did it, but I didn't want to do it. But I also know that me and you originally, when we were doing this episode, we had planned for it to be a deep dive on weight loss surgery. Mm-hmm. And I was the one that ended up changing it to like the episode that it was, where we were touching on weight loss surgery, but we thought we might get into it deeper in a future episode. And my question to you is, do you think that's something we should cover in the future? Like, do you think we go deeper into it in that way? And because I think my struggle with it was I really didn't want to put it in people's heads, yes or no, weight loss surgery, because I do ultimately think it's an individual decision.
You know, I think it's really interesting because I think narratively, for the purpose of that episode, it was really important that we're sort of seeing it from your perspective in the moment, which is that weight loss surgery represents this cure-all, this like, yes, I don't have to do anything and I'm just going to do this thing. Now, yes. I think you as a person and in the moment now, definitely you know all those things and you see that. And I think when we were like sort of being like, oh, we should add some of this stuff in, it just sort of felt like it detracted from the theme of the episode, which was, are you, Ronald, going to choose to stay fat or choose to lose weight? Now, saying that, I will say, I think I really want to do an episode that sort of covers more of the things that Yelena was speaking on. And I definitely think like they have a lot of valid points, because something that I've thought of this, I've just been thinking about this for years, is when I first started to meet people who had got weight loss surgery, or like I one time read this like memoir from a woman who had gotten weight loss surgery, and I didn't know all that stuff, and like how
Yeah.
you can't drink water, and how it really like you're malnourished a lot. Like I had no idea, because I think as a society we definitely say to fat people like, yeah, of course you should just get this surgery, because the other option is like being fat. And I think it is a really like rudimentary surgery that I feel like will be outdated, or would have already maybe been. I'm not a like doctor, but I feel like something is that drastic would be like maybe outdated at this point if we really cared about fat people.
I could see that being kind of like what we're looking for in that episode,
Yeah.
to see like, is that going to happen? And I only say that because one of the conversations I know that we're eventually going to have on this show is talking about weight loss drugs. And it seems like
Uh-huh.
weight loss drugs are like, yeah, are like starting to take the place of a weight loss surgery in terms of a quick fix for weight loss. But to speak to weight loss surgery, you're absolutely right. I think that there is definitely more to the story. I think that, especially with me interviewing Caroline and John, they both went through weight loss surgery recently, and I've seen varying degrees of success and failure after weight loss surgery, meaning that I've seen people who gained it all back. I've seen people who like kept it off. And I've heard horror stories about people, getting sick, like being malnourished, all of that. I've heard those as well. And I think you're absolutely right. Like it was hard to tell that story in episode 4. And it's hard to tell a story about weight loss surgery in episode 4 that is just about weight loss surgery when I was not getting it. And the point of it was to say, should I lose a ton of weight, or should I live my life as a fat person, knowing that it's okay to be a fat person? And I feel like
Yeah.
setting those up against each other was way too hard, because at that point I feel like we would have turned the listeners into a place where it was just like, wait, what's going on with weight loss surgery? Tell me more. You know what I mean?
Totally. But I do think like for season 2, I would love to cover this.
Well, speaking of season 2, that kind of answers a question that I was going to ask you. What do you want in season 2?
Um oh, I think there's a lot of stories that I am interested in. This is actually sort of the negative impacts of weight loss surgery is definitely a big one for me. I also have been doing some research into a story about a fashion magazine in the 80s
I know this.
that I'm excited about. And I think like I think, and like obviously you can cut this as if this isn't what you are now thinking. But I think like for season 2, you know, to get even more perspectives on being fat would be really exciting.
Yeah. So for season 2, what I have in mind was that we're gonna expand the story a bit. So I know I want to talk about air travel. So we're going to talk about air travel. I want to talk about fat camp. Uh, as someone who worked at a fat camp, there's a lot of different perspectives on folks that went there. I really want to widen the lens so that we're kind of talking about, like in season 1, if it was like memoir and saying like, this is the thoughts that I have about a world that doesn't fit me. In season 2, I want to do more world building where we're actually talking about the world and saying like the ways in which the world doesn't fit fat people. And I definitely want to talk about just ways in which that the world has been more oppressive specifically. And I think talking about weight loss surgery, talking about the name of the magazine is BBW Magazine for those that wanted to know.
I'm being mysterious.
Yeah, but talking about the origin of that magazine and talking about air travel, fat camp, and we have some other ideas brewing. Talking about those ideas is going to expand. Dating. Oh my God, we got to talk about dating.
Yeah.
And
dating from multiple perspectives.
Yeah. We definitely have to talk about that. So we're looking to cover all of those. And I guess this is our roundabout way of saying that there will be a season 2.
Yay.
Yeah. Celebration. Pop champagne. Or sparkling cider. I don't know your life. Or water. But there will be a season 2. We're looking to do that. Some folks have already reached out. I already have your emails. I will definitely be talking to you in between seasons to get your stories. And we definitely hope to include you in season 2 of Wait For It. But Sarah, I want to say to you in front of everybody, it has been an honor and a privilege working with you so far. And you've made me a better podcaster. You've made me a better writer. And it's just been, I slid into your DMs, hoping that you would just help me make a little show. And I don't think I would have been able to make this show, the show that I wanted to make, without you. So I thank you so much for being a part of that.
Oh, thank you. I wish you could see my face, but my internet is too slow because I'm. That was very nice. Yeah. And I really just want to say, I'm incredibly proud of you. I think it takes an enormous amount of artistic vision and courage and a lack of ego to have someone read your life story and be like, if you could switch this around so many times, and you did that beautifully. And I just think this is definitely the kind of audio that I want to be making and a part of. So thank you so much for, giving me this opportunity. And I'm excited for season 2.
Me too. And listeners, we'll be back. We have a bonus episode coming next week. It'll be an episode of Other Men Need Help with Mark Pagan that I was a part of. So that'll be next week. And then after that, we'll take a little break. And we should be back in January with brand new episodes of Wait For It. They are interview episodes, part of a series called New Year, New Me. And then after that, we'll be hopefully fully launched into production on season 2 and figuring it out as we go. So stay tuned.
This is very exciting. Well, congratulations, Ronald. You did it.
Congratulations, Sarah. We did it.
We did it. Congratulations, John. You also.
Congratulations, John. John Dolores. Shout out. Shout out to John. Additional mixing for this episode from Brian Jacobs Rivera of Bias Studios. Wait For It is a production of Oh It's Big Ron Studios and is a proud member of Radiotopia from PRX, a network of independent, creator-owned, listener-supported podcasts. Discover audio with vision at radiotopia.fm. This episode was produced and written by me, Ronald Young Jr., with editing from Sarah Dealy. Sound design and mixing from the Reverend John Delore of Starlight Diner. Show and episode art by Heather Wilder. Theme music from Jey Red, with additional music from Mass Potential, the artist DT, and the mysterious Breakmaster Cylinder. You can follow me on Twitter, Threads, Instagram, and TikTok at Oh It's Big Ron. That's at OHITSBIGRON. You can find out more about this show and other Oh It's Big Ron Studios shows by following us on Instagram at Oh It's Big Ron Studios and on Twitter at Oh It's Big Ron Stew. That's STEW. If you have a story about weight that you'd like to share with us, shoot us an email at wait@ohitsbigron.com. That's WEIGHT@ohitsbigron.com. Now, that's a wrap on season 1, but Wait For It will return next week with a bonus episode. So come back next week and check that out. I think you're going to like it. Until then, thanks for listening. Wait for it. In 3, 2, 1. Did you clap after me?
No, it was the... I'm pretty sure it was the lag.
Okay, not a problem.
We can do it again if you want.
No, I trust you.
Okay.
Okay.
I was lying. I delayed the clap. No, I didn't. I'm sorry.
All right.
Radiotopia.